Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half acre homestead. We're going to do another traditional English pie today. Now, I know I'm doing a lot of these pies, but once I did the Shropshire pie, somebody asked me to do pork pies. And I looked it up and it's really easy. We have our hot water pastry. I have some home-raised, home-cured bacon, some home-raised, home-cured pork, pepper, salt, and this is my jellied broth that I made the soup out of. Now if you don't have a jellied broth, and it has to be jellied, once it melts it won't be jelly, but when it cools it will. It has to be a jellied broth for one simple reason: this is a cold meal. This is something that you bake, you pour the broth in, and then when it cools, that's when you eat it. Now you can eat them hot, but so let's start off with, and if you don't have any jelly broth of your own, just get some powdered gelatin mix and your favorite meat broth. But this happens to be mostly pork broth. So first we're going to take our pork, our ground pork, and we're going to pop that in the bowl. And yeah, I can remember my dad talking about his great Uncle Art. He would say, "Right, I'm off to the pub for a pork pie and a pint." So what we're going to do is we're just going to dice up the bacon. Now if you wanted, you could use ham instead of bacon, but this is going to be baked, and we just want this kind of diced nice and fine. Okay, we now have our bacon all nicely minced up, and we'll put that in with the ground pork. And then we're going to add just salt and pepper. Now if you want, you can add a little bit of sage. Or the simplicity of this recipe is just that. It's a real simple recipe. I'm just going to mix this all together. If this is too wet, you can add some breadcrumbs. So I have thrown a piece of homemade bread in the food processor and made some just to be safe. But now we're going to make our pastries. And I forgot to get out my cookie sheet. I'll be right back. Okay, we have our cookie sheet with a piece of parchment, and we have our hot water pastry. Now we're just going to take a ball of pastry. Now you want your dough ball to be as, circular as possible. There we go. You stand it upside down and you mold your pastry down, keeping it as even as possible. Oh, I think that's a winner. Oh yeah, that's a winner. All right, now we've got 6 little shells here, and we've got our bacon and our pork and our salt and pepper, and I'm going to add a little bit of extra spice. I'm just going to add a bit of ground garlic and some kale powder, because there's no veggies in these pies. So, and let's just see. Yeah, that's a little wet. I'm going to add some breadcrumbs and see how we do. Now you're supposed to do a ball, and the whole premise is, that actually might be a bit much. The whole premise is that when the meat cooks, it will shrink, And when it shrinks and you take it out of the oven, then you pour the jelly broth in to fill in the chinks. And then you chill it, and then it's one of those things you can eat on the go. I'm actually quite proud of how well this is turning out. Okay, I didn't do 6 more. I had enough for 3 more. So here we have 9 pork pies. And now we're just going to put tops on them. And all I'm going to do for the tops is I'm going to use the same glass. And I'm going to roll out. It's one thing I love about this hot water pastry is you can't kill it. The tougher the better. Looks like I did pretty good with the measurements on this. Yeah, measurements on this pastry though. It turns out to be just enough using the top of the glass. This is one of those times that it doesn't matter if you overwork your pastry. Alrighty. Let's do up our pies. Now all we're going to do is we're going to put them on the top, and we're just going to fold in and pinch the sides. Alright, we'll be right back with the egg wash. Alrighty, now we've just gotten some beaten egg and a bit of water, and we're just going to brush this on. And what this does is it gives it a wonderful golden crust. And this is what's so beautiful about pork pies, is they're portable. And they're best eaten cold. So, I mean, you want to bake these up and throw them in the freezer and then put a couple in your husband's lunch. Bob's your uncle. You got lunch and you didn't have to, you know, use bread or this be something different. Now we're going to pop these in an oven at 375 degrees for 15 minutes. 375 to 400 degrees depending on how hot your oven cooks. And then we're just going to, after 15 minutes, we're going to turn them down to 325 and slow cook them for about an hour. Oh my. Look at those. Okay. These have been in the oven for about an hour and a half. Now what we're going to do is, while they're still hot, we are going to pour in some of this broth. This is the stuff that will gel when it's cool. And some of these still have open spots. So I'm just going to pour them in. But if they don't have an open spot, I'm going to try my apple corer here. See if we can get a hole in there without breaking the paste, without breaking the pie itself. That worked. Look at that. And we'll just pour a little bit of the jelly broth in there and we'll just let it cool. Alright, now we're going to put these in the fridge to chill, and we will be back later and we'll have us a pork pie and a pint of chocolate milk. Wolfie is willing to wait for them to cool down. I am not. Now, of course the jelly is liquid because the pie is hot. But I cannot wait that long because the smell alone has been driving me bonkers. Here we go. Oh, Oh, just one more bite to make sure I'm not dreaming. Papa's going to try it after all.
Very good.
This is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead saying, pork pie and a pint! Nothing better. God, good cold weather food. Take care.